Hey everyone, another week in English 338. I wanted to go over a couple of things because this could be a really important week for us. What this is raw footage week. What is raw footage? Well, we'll talk about it. Let's look at a few things first, and then we'll go from there. So you'll notice I say raw footage week, I mean raw footage week. We are doing a whole bunch of stuff that I think could be essential for your digital stories. And I want to go through them kind of slowly and talk about each one, because in different kinds of ways, I want you to pick up on this and be thinking about the kinds of moves you want to make in your digital story and why you want to tell this digital story, what you hope that people would learn, right? So first things first, I have changed the deadline, the early week deadline that we've established in this class, to Wednesday. Why? Because I want you to get back out there. I want you to get as much raw footage as you can, photos, videos, MP3s of sound, artifacts, and texts, or other kinds of primary research that you've gathered. And I want you to put it in the currents area for this week, which we're calling week 10. Now, what could be interesting about that is not just that you're once again getting out into a place that you feel like you want to tell a story about, some place where an environmental issue is prevalent, either because something needs to be fixed or something's going right, but nobody knows it, right? So let's think about that first. What I've done in different kinds of ways is I've asked you all to pick up not only on a place that you think is special, but also to be thinking about it specifically in terms of rhetoric. The classical triumvirate of teach, please, and move applies here. What does teach, please, and move mean? Well, your goal as a rhetor should be to teach people about this place, to please them in the ways that you talk about it or the images that you provide, and to move them to action, to either think differently or actually to carry out some kind of act in its defense, to protect it, to pass legislation, whatever that turns out to be. You want to persuade them to move, right? So what does this mean then? Well, we've got an interesting situation then in which what I'm going to ask you to do is go through a couple of these things with me. You'll notice right here, I have a whole bunch of different kinds of links that I'd like you to consider, because this digital story doesn't just, you got a lot of choices. It doesn't have to be a video. There could be all kinds of things that you do. The first one, how Vox Video uses Google Earth Studio, is a fascinating look at Google Earth Studio as a way to tell a story. What's cool about that? Well, the very thing that we're seeing right here is that you can use maps and animation from huge to very local to tell the story of a particular area, and to integrate that kind of footage into a digital story in different kinds of ways could be fascinating. What you see right here are the very advantages of using Google Earth and Google Earth Studio as a way of locating us, yourself and us, in a story. So very cool. For those of you who are proficient with ArcGIS, that is another way to tell a digital story, what they call a story map. And how cool is that, that you can actually use GIS data in order to craft a kind of an animation that would take us in and locate us in several places. What we can't see in the Tennessee River might be one good example of this. And it's dumping me right into the ArcGIS website. I wish this were faster on my computer. Let's wait for a second and see what happens here. Come on now. Maybe I'll come back to it. Another choice is a photo essay. Be thinking about that. Georgia has a coast. If you feel like you want to tell a story, but in words, and you want to link that word story, the kind of the narrative, to different kinds of images, then a photo essay might very well be the thing. This one's called Georgia Has a Coast, and it's overhead shots of the geography of Georgia and the kinds of things that are going on, the kinds of issues that they're facing, specifically at the coast. Another one is the kind of stuff that we've been talking about in terms of the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. This one's called A Beginner's Guide to the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. And what it has is basically website resources for us to kind of understand the Delta in terms of the groundwork, the history, the Delta as a place, and so on. So you see very clearly here that a combination of photos, images, words, and so on could be the way that you go there. Now, what you can't see in the Tennessee River, a closer look at pollution in the river. This gives us a sense of what ArcGIS story maps can do. Look at this kind of stuff. Very cool. As it moves us along the Tennessee River, it also starts to introduce the issue of pollution and some fun kind of images guide us toward an inevitable conclusion, which is that industrial chemicals, microplastics, raw sewage, and agricultural runoff are all affecting the river in a pretty intense way. So this is the kind of stuff that you could do instead of, or in addition to, just breaking out your phone and starting to record yourself talking about the things you care about. Now, you can sense that I'm being a little bit ironic there, because what our goal should be is to provide a kind of an edifying way for our audience to kind of understand something different in a way that maybe they haven't been alerted to before. That is the whole idea of Teach. We open our mouths and we start to speak. We use rhetoric because we want people to think differently. That presumes that maybe they don't know what we know. That presumes that we have information to share with them that they weren't aware of, right? And so in different kinds of ways, this story, of course, will involve some background research. You're going to have to do some Googling, some internet digging to find what is going on at your particular site that other people need to know about. Now, remember, this doesn't have to be a negative Nelly type project where you just say everything's wrong, everything's busted, and we have to fix it. It could also be that there have been environmental victories localized that people don't know about, and that you think that perhaps this is a kind of a model for other places to take up and start to work with as they are thinking about how they could protect their own environments. So be thinking about this in different kinds of ways. I was fascinated to see the different kinds of places that you all had proposed for your projects. Now, let's be clear here. You all weren't really proposing at this stage. You were using NAPS strategies in order to look at a particular place, but you weren't really signing your name on the dotted line. Still, a huge number of different places. Chase is talking about the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. Kyle is talking about Granite Bay, California, and Folsom Lake. Sean was talking about Big Chico Creek, 1 mile lower Bidwell Park, salmon populations down on the Feather River, Port, Johnny, how do you say it? Port Hueneme, California? Is it Hueneme? I don't really know. Ivy was talking about Mono Lake. Jacob provided some pictures of Bear Hole. Okay, lots of good stuff there. Section 2, similarly, Paul was talking about the downtown LA area. Don't for a second think that there isn't an environment in an urban environment. there is environment there as well. The question is, what are we going to say about that urban environment? What do people need to know about the urban environment that they don't currently know? Jose was talking about Lower Park in Chico. Sydney talking about Folsom and maybe Folsom Lake. Sycamore Pool, right across the street from my house, actually. Ty was talking about coho salmon and steelhead trout in the Oroville Dam area. Zachary was talking about Santa Barbara Harbor. So it was very clear to me that a number of you have lived very close to the ocean or a beach or a harbor or a lake and know very well what the effects on that lake have been from years and years and years of neglect or pollution or littering and so on. It was also clear from a lot of the entries on this week's Currents that some of you just wanted to go explore, just wanted to be in a place of nature. And I'm glad that this assignment last week could help you with that. Now let's think about what are the kinds of things that people could learn from your digital story. Let's move a little bit closer to that as our goal. And so what I did in different kinds of ways is I tried in my responses, get in there and look at all the kinds of things that I've said to each of you. I tried to be clear about, okay, so what is the frame or the angle that we're going to pursue related to this place? What is the personal story that you might be able to tell? And then what are the issues that this place is facing that maybe people would need to know about? The thing that I want to get away from are generalized projects where you say the ocean is in danger and we need to protect it, or beaches are being littered upon. We know the Surfrider Foundation since the 1970s or 1980s has been very active in trying to do beach cleanups and trying to raise awareness of all of the different kinds of litter that end up on beaches, both on the East Coast and on the West Coast. It is still a serious issue. So let's jump forward to 2021 where we are. Why is it still an issue? What keeps us from getting this job done? If we have known about litter for the past 40 years, why are we not further down the field? Why can we not, or what has been done? I am going to push each of you to be more specific and to dial in what you're really talking about. And I'm hoping what you will do is develop a specific frame or angle for your project that will really teach your audience something new that they didn't know before about this particular place. So this raw footage week, you know, it sounds like you don't have a lot to do, but I think you do have to do some thinking. Let's look at the tentative schedule once again. What I am hoping you do again by Wednesday, raw footage week, is upload some more raw footage to Google Currents. Then by Thursday, what I want you to do is look over, listen, watch raw materials from at least 2 other people in your Currents community and respond to them in writing. Be constructive as much as possible. Tell people what you like about their material, what questions you have about what they're doing, what suggestions you have for other materials or resources, and how you imagine they could craft a compelling digital story. That is, as peer responders, as a first audience, a first set of eyes, help them articulate what the angle or frame could be for their particular digital story. What is the thing that stands out to you as being particularly compelling in their footage so far, and how can they develop those ideas further? So this is what we might call peer critique. It's what we might also call brainstorming, but I think it's going to play a decisive role in getting you out getting to develop some materials, starting to think about what it all means, and maybe going and searching for more information, more resources that can help you craft this digital story. Okay, so good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go from there.